Hey everybody, welcome to the second part of our muscular chapter. Today we're going to be going quickly through muscles and movements. Kind of like the skeletal system, there's a lot of this that's going to overlap into lab. And really the main part of this is going to be tested in lab. So I'm going to go pretty quickly through that portion of it and then just talk about the movements at the end. So just like before, the muscular system still has the same functions, right? It's still for locomotion, support, controls body temperature. It's still composed of the same things, muscle, tendons, and aponeuroses. So your whole muscle structure, again, last time we talked about myofibers, they have the ability to differ in speed of contraction and endurance. We talked about the difference between fast twitch and slow twitch fibers and the fact that you have the ability to adapt your body to whatever its need is at the time. So you can actually change the content or quantity or proportions of your fast twitch to slow twitch fibers, just depending upon what type of exercise you do. Whole muscle differs in power, range of motion or movement, speed of contraction, and then it's related to the arrangement of your muscle fascicles. So here's the part that largely overlaps into lab, right? The organization of your muscle fascicles. Really, this is just arrangement of the fibers and how they come from tendons. So A, you see here is circular, B is convergent, meaning they start wide and then they converge into a tendon. C is multipennate, which just means they come from 3 or more sides of the tendon. D is parallel, which just means parallel to the fibers are parallel to the long axis. E is unipennate, meaning the fibers come from one side of a tendon, and then bipennate means comes from 2 sides of the tendon, excuse me. Interactions with your skeletal system. So muscles can only contract, which you learned last time. They need an antagonistic muscle to move another way. So because of that, there's 2 different attachments. There is an origin and an insertion for every muscle. The origin is going to be the part that moves the least. So that's where the muscle begins. The insertion is going to be the portion of the muscle that has the greatest ability to move. That's where the muscle is going to insert at. So insertions move toward origins in anatomical position. Muscles are going to cross joints except for in the face. And then the bulk of muscle tissue is going to be proximal to the joint. A movement here is the result of more than one muscle, and muscles are arranged into antagonistic groups. So here's some terminology for actions. This is just a review of your joints. So flexion and extension, which are decreasing and increasing the angle of a joint. Abduction, adduction, which are taking away from the midline and adding toward the midline, and then rotation around an axis. In muscles, you're going to have a prime mover, which you would call an agonist. This is going to be where you have contraction of the muscle, and it's the main reason for producing the movement, right? That's like the thing that's the most important. A synergist is going to, if muscles are working in synergy, they have the ability to assist the prime mover with the movement or stabilize the joint. So this would be a muscle that does the same thing as the agonist. It's just like a helper, if you will. And then antagonist muscle interactions are going to be ones that oppose each other. So like flexion and extension oppose, right? This increases the angle of the joint, that decreases the angle of the joint. Same here with abduction, adduction, right? Here, this might be the prime mover, and this would be the one that acts in opposition to the prime mover, right? So it does the opposite thing. Muscle nomenclature is super, super, super important for you guys. I don't know if I can stress that enough, just because there's so many muscles. There's over 600, not that we're asking you to know all of them, but there's over 600 muscles in the body. And because there's so many, rather than just trying to memorize hundreds of muscles, if you learn the nomenclature, it's going to make more sense. So if you know that 1 + 1 = 2, you don't have to do the math on it every single time. It's the same idea here. If you know the nomenclature of the muscle, you don't have to figure out what muscle it is. You just have to look at location and side and maybe what the function is or where it runs to or where it runs over. So this is really important for you guys for lab. The names of muscles are going to be based on size, length, shape, direction, action or function, origin or insertion, or also the location. So go through these for sure and learn things like Magnus means big, major means bigger, maximus is biggest, right? So you have the gluteus maximus, the gluteus medius, and the gluteus minimus, which tells you the biggest one, the middle one, and then the smallest one. So hopefully that will help you guys a lot. This is just anterior muscles. So this is all lab where you're just going to go through and you're going to start to identify these muscles. This is posterior. Categories just tells you where they're going to be at. Axial musculature. Again, I'm skipping through these not because they're not important, but just because I'm not going to test you on them in lecture. The only thing that I might test you guys on in lecture is a tiny bit of action just from the muscles that are here. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I won't do this in a lecture environment. I'm going to focus more on the physiology of the muscles. So again, I'm skipping through this, which hopefully you guys are enjoying. Just use this and focus on this for lab. Muscles of ventilation. This is reproductive muscles, upper limb, pectoral girdle, brachium, flexors and extensors, hand, lower limb. Okay, so the reality of this is it was very, very short for the lecture component. So now we're ready to move on to the next unit, which would be the nervous system. We'll spend lots of time there. So again, this is just the review here at the end. The only thing that you guys would want to focus on here is how they interact with each other, right? The muscular system is really important in all of the other systems too, because they all function together. So like the integumentary system, you have contraction of facial muscles that help with communication. Also, you have muscles into your skin that are going to help generate heat. Skeletal system, we talked about ad nauseum. So they work together, right? They're going to help move the body. The nervous system is required for muscles to get signals on how they're going to respond or act, contract. The endocrine system, muscles protect the endocrine system and skeletal by improving homeostatic control of things like insulin. Cardiovascular system, obviously your heart is a muscle. Lymphatic muscles are going to protect these organs that help with immunity. Respiratory, you have muscles that help you breathe. Urinary, you've got muscle sphincters that are going to control voluntary and involuntary openings for waste to come out. Digestive system is lined with skeletal muscle and smooth muscle. To smooth muscle, obviously, to do things like propel food down your digestive tract, but then also like your mouth. Those are going to be skeletal muscles that help you chew. And then reproductive, your reproductive organs also have musculature in there that are going to help do things like contract for movement of different things. The last part here is something that's also related to lab and electromyography, which is just our ability to test or assess overall health of your muscle and nerves controlling them. So basically, and you're going to do this in lab if you haven't already, is you'll put a needle electrode or a little sticky electrode on or through the skin into the muscle. And then you're going to measure the electrical activity displayed by an oscilloscope that provides information about the way your muscles are contracting and responding to nerve stimulation. That's it for today. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you in class.